The lawyer's words landed harder than any verdict Rowan Mercer had ever heard in a courtroom. He sat motionless in the bright conference room while afternoon sunlight spilled across stacks of legal documents and the framed family photographs hanging behind the elderly attorney's desk. "You need a family by Friday." For the first time in 15 years of winning impossible cases, Rowan had no argument. If stories about kindness, forgiveness, and second chances inspire you, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Hub. Your support helps us bring more heartwarming stories to people around the world. Rowan had built his entire life around work. At 38, he was one of the most respected corporate lawyers in the city. His tailored suits, luxury apartment, and long list of successful clients impressed everyone except the one person who mattered now. His grandfather. Elias Mercer had raised Rowan after a car accident took both of his parents when he was 8 years old. While other children spent summers at camps and amusement parks, Rowan spent his days inside Elias's small hardware store, learning how to fix broken things with his hands and listening to his grandfather's endless lessons about compassion. People matter more than possessions. Success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. Never let pride steal your chance to love someone. Rowan remembered every lesson. He had simply ignored them. When his career took off, he convinced himself he was too busy for birthdays, holidays, and weekend visits. One postponed dinner became months of silence. Months became years. Then, 3 weeks earlier, Elias suffered a massive stroke. Now he lay in a rehabilitation center, his speech limited, his movements slow but his mind still sharp. The family lawyer, Malcolm Voss, slid a file across the desk. "Your grandfather updated his living trust 2 years ago," he explained carefully. "His company shares, properties, and charitable foundation are all designated to transfer to you under one condition." Rowan opened the folder. The condition was written in bold letters. "Demonstrate a commitment to family and community by establishing meaningful personal relationships." The Trust Review Board would meet Friday morning. 5 days away. Malcolm removed his glasses and sighed. "Your grandfather believes you've confused achievement with purpose. He wants proof that you understand the difference." "What exactly am I supposed to do?" Rowan asked bitterly. The older man hesitated. "Start acting like the boy he raised." That evening, Rowan visited the rehabilitation center. Elias sat near a window overlooking the garden where nurses pushed patients beneath flowering trees. When Rowan entered, his grandfather looked away. The disappointment in his eyes hurt more than anger ever could. Rowan sat beside him. "I know I haven't been around." Elias remained silent. "I thought I had time." Slowly, his grandfather reached into the pocket of his sweater and pulled out an old photograph. It showed 13-year-old Rowan standing between Elias and a teenage girl with dark braids and an irritated expression. Mara Quinn. The woman who hated him. Elias tapped the picture, then pointed toward Rowan. Finally, he pointed toward Mara. Rowan frowned. "No." Elias nodded firmly. 3 years earlier, Rowan had represented a development company that acquired the neighborhood where Mara ran a community art center. The center closed after losing its lease. Although Rowan had simply done his job, Mara blamed him for destroying something she had spent a decade building. The last time they'd seen each other, she had told him that he measured success in dollars because he'd forgotten what being human felt like. At the time, Rowan dismissed her words. Now they echoed in his mind. The next morning, he drove across town to a modest brick building with colorful murals painted across the walls. A handwritten sign read, "Quinn Community Workshop." Apparently, Mara had rebuilt everything from scratch. Children carried paint supplies through the front door while volunteers arranged folding tables outside. When Rowan stepped from his car, Mara spotted him immediately. Her expression hardened. Of course it did. She hadn't changed much since high school. The same determined eyes. The same stubborn posture. Only now there were faint lines around her eyes, earned from years of carrying responsibilities alone. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Rowan considered lying. Instead, he told the truth. "My grandfather asked me to find you." Mara crossed her arms. "Why?" "Because I think he knows I need help." She laughed once, without humor. "You destroyed my center. I represented a client. You made a choice." He wanted to argue. Instead, he looked around. Children painted signs beneath a tent. Elderly volunteers sorted donated books. A teenage boy helped an older man carry supplies. This place felt alive. His office never had. "I'm trying to fix some things," Rowan admitted. Mara studied him carefully. For the first time, she noticed the exhaustion behind his expensive appearance. "What happened?" "My grandfather had a stroke." Something softened in her expression. She remembered Elias Mercer. Everyone did. He repaired broken bicycles for neighborhood kids without charging a cent. He delivered groceries to elderly neighbors during snowstorms. He attended every community fundraiser. When Mara's father died unexpectedly during her senior year, Elias sat beside her mother at the funeral and quietly paid for the catering. He never told anyone. She learned about it years later. "How is he?" "He asks about you." Her eyes filled briefly before she looked away. Despite everything, Elias had never stopped checking on her. Rowan took a deep breath. "I know you owe me nothing. But I need to understand what I've been missing." Mara stared at him for several seconds. Finally, she pointed toward a stack of folding chairs. "We need help setting up for tomorrow's family fair." For the first time in years, Rowan spent an entire day doing something that couldn't be measured in billable hours. He assembled tables. He carried boxes. He served sandwiches. He listened. A widowed teacher explained how the workshop helped her feel less alone. A single father described the free tutoring program that improved his daughter's grades. A retired mechanic said volunteering gave him purpose after losing his wife. Every person had a story. Every story reminded Rowan how disconnected he'd become. Over the next 4 days, he returned every morning. Not because of the trust. Not because of the deadline. Because he wanted to. He helped repair bicycles with neighborhood children. He organized legal paperwork to secure grant funding. He used his professional connections to negotiate affordable insurance for the center. At lunch, he sat with volunteers instead of checking emails. Each day, Mara watched him cautiously. She expected him to quit. He didn't. She expected excuses. There were none. One afternoon, they walked together through the community garden behind the workshop. Sunlight filtered through the trees while children laughed nearby. "You really changed," she said quietly. Rowan shook his head. "No. I think I'm remembering who I used to be." Mara smiled sadly. "Elias would like that." He stopped walking. "I'm sorry." She looked at him. "For everything." The apology wasn't polished or strategic. It was honest. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Mara nodded. "I know." Friday morning arrived faster than either of them expected. Rowan sat inside the trust review meeting with Malcolm and several board members. They asked questions about his career, finances, and future plans. Then they asked the important question. "What does family mean to you?" A week earlier, Rowan would have delivered a perfect answer. Now he simply spoke from the heart. Family isn't about appearances or obligations. It's showing up even when life gets busy. It's choosing people over pride. It's understanding that success means very little if you experience it alone. He paused. My grandfather spent his life helping people because he believed kindness creates connections stronger than money ever could. I forgot that. Malcolm smiled. Not anymore. The board approved the trust unanimously. But when Rowan left the building, he realized something surprising. The inheritance no longer mattered. He drove directly to the rehabilitation center. Mara was already there. She sat beside Elias, showing him pictures from the family fair. When Rowan entered the room, his grandfather smiled. A real smile. The kind Rowan hadn't seen in years. Elias reached for both their hands and squeezed them together. For once, neither of them pulled away. Months passed. Rowan reduced his workload and joined the workshop's board of directors. He offered free legal services to local nonprofits. He had dinner with his grandfather every Sunday. And somewhere between community meetings, shared coffees, and ordinary afternoons, he and Mara discovered that forgiveness often creates space for unexpected love. Not the dramatic kind found in movies. The steady kind built through patience, trust, and showing up every day. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Hub. Your engagement helps spread stories that remind us all that it's never too late to change. Special request: comment below with one person you want to reconnect with before it's too late. A year after the trust meeting, Rowan stood beside Elias in the community garden while children played nearby. His grandfather's health had improved, though he still walked slowly. They watched Mara teach a group of kids how to plant sunflowers. Elias glanced at Rowan and smiled knowingly. People matter more than possessions. Success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. This time, Rowan finally understood. Because sometimes the family we need isn't the one we inherit. It's the one we choose to fight for.